A few days ago, I was online looking at buying a book, and that should come as no surprise. The paperback was listed as well as the Kindle version, but the price difference was tiny. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes the Kindle version is much cheaper. Sometimes there's a deal, and sometimes it's 99p and you feel like you've somehow beaten the system. But more often than not, you see an ebook and can't help but notice it's almost the same price as the physical book. And you find yourself thinking, why? There's no paper, no printing, no warehouse, no delivery, no bookshop shelf. How can an ebook still cost almost as much as a physical book? I think the answer is more than just publishers are being greedy. Although, let's not rule that out too early. Welcome to the Weekly Spark, where each week I take one story, one question or one small irritation from the world of tech and I think a little bit more deeply about it. And this week I want to ask a question I think a lot of readers have had at some point. Why are ebooks seemingly so expensive? When you buy a paperback book, you feel like you're paying for an actual thing. You can hold it, you can pop it on a shelf, you can convince yourself you're definitely going to read it soon. There's an object, there's something in the room with you. But with an ebook, it just appears. You tap buy, it downloads, and there it is on your Kindle, Kobo, phone or tablet. And with this lack of physicality, it feels like it should be cheaper, much cheaper. Part of the problem is that we tend to think about the bit of the book we can see. With a printed book, we see the paper, we see the cover, we see and feel the thickness of it. We see the thing that had to be made. With an ebook, we only see a digital file, if that. And a digital file is weightless, I think. So, when the ebook is $8.99 and the paperback is $9.99, something in your brain goes, hang on, why is that almost the same price? But, of course, the physical object is only one part of the cost of a book. Before a book ever becomes paper or pixels, someone has to write it. And I know that sounds obvious, but it's worth saying, because the real value of a book isn't the paper, it's the work. The book wouldn't exist without the author. It might not read well without editing and proofreading. It wouldn't look good without cover design and formatting. You wouldn't even know it exists without marketing or publicity. And then the retailer takes a cut and the publisher covers their overheads by taking theirs. In traditional publishing, there are plenty of books that won't make much money at all. So the successful ones often help carry the risk of the unsuccessful ones. When we say, well, there's no paper, so the ebook should be massively discounted, I don't think that's entirely fair. Books still cost money to make, digital or otherwise. Writers, editors and designers all need to be paid. The people who make good books possible should be paid. But that doesn't completely answer the question, does it? Because the real question isn't, should ebooks cost money? Of course they should. The real question is, why does removing the physical product sometimes remove so little of the price? And that's the bit that feels strange. If the printed version includes the cost of paper, printing, storage, transport, returns and physical retail, then surely the digital version should have a bigger discount. And like I said at the top, sometimes it does. But often, especially with newer books from major publishers, it doesn't. So what's going on? I think the first thing to note is that books aren't priced by cost alone. And that's the trap that we easily fall into. We imagine someone adding up the cost of paper, ink, printing, delivery, and then subtracting those things for the ebook version. But that's not really how pricing works. Books are priced according to value, demand, timing, format, and what publishers think people are willing to pay. A hardback doesn't cost 4 times more to manufacture than a paperback, but it can be sold for much more because it's the first version, the premium version. It's the one bought by people who really want that book now, and they want it to look amazing on their bookshelf. Then later, the paperback comes along at a lower price. So when we compare an ebook to a paperback, we might not always be comparing two products in the way publishers see them. To us, it's just the same book in different formats, but to the publisher, those formats aren't all doing the same job. The hardback is the premium version, the first edition. The ebook often arrives at the same time, but it's carefully priced so it doesn't completely undercut everything else. But this isn't too much of an issue because the hardcore fans want the hardback. Then the paperback usually comes later, and after that you get those discounts, the Kindle deals and all the rest of it. If the ebook is too cheap, too early, it can undercut the hardback and maybe even the paperback as well. Now, that doesn't mean you have to like it, but it does explain why publishers may not want the ebook to be the obvious bargain every time. Because once readers expect every new ebook to be, say, $2.99, it becomes much harder to convince them that a new book is worth $12.99, $16.99, or £22 or more in any format. The second is retailer power. Yes, you've removed the paper, printing, delivery vans and warehouse space. But Amazon, Kobo, Apple, or whoever is selling the book still needs to take a cut. And publishers still have to think about how that book gets noticed. Because putting a book online doesn't mean anyone will just find it. It still has to appear in search. It still has to show up in recommendations. The bottom line is that it still has to be promoted, and promotion costs money. So yes, the physical costs are lower, but that doesn't mean the whole selling process has become virtually free. The third thing is that ebooks have a strange value problem. They feel like they should be cheaper because, as I've said, there's no physical object. But as I mentioned in a previous video where I talked about how digital has the edge over the physical, they're also more convenient. You can buy one at midnight. You can carry hundreds of books on one device. You can search through them easily. You can change the font size and other accessibility settings so the book stays readable no matter how much you might change. You can sync your place and read across different kinds of devices. So the ebook is caught between two ideas. It feels like it should cost less because it's digital, but it also offers convenience, and convenience has value. I don't think the answer is that every ebook should be dirt cheap, because I don't just want cheap books. I want good books. I want writers to be paid enough that they have the time to write them. I want editors and designers to have jobs. I want publishers to take risks on interesting ideas, not just celebrity memoirs and books that sound like they were named in a marketing meeting. Let me begin to sum all this up. With a physical book, the price feels more believable because there's something in your hand. With an ebook, all the invisible costs are still there, but the visible costs have disappeared. And when the visible costs disappear, people expect more of the price to disappear as well. That's the gap. The industry is pricing the ebook as a creative product, and quite right too. But the reader experiences it as a digital file, and those two things don't feel the same. And I think that's why this question keeps coming back. It's not just about whether $8.99 is too much. If the paperback is $9.99, then the ebook at $8.99 might make sense on a spreadsheet. But emotionally, it doesn't feel like enough of a difference. And pricing is emotional. That's why £9.99 works differently from listing something as £10. It's why a discount sticker changes how we feel about something. It's a deal, so now we have to buy it. It's why Kindle daily deals are so effective. We don't just ask, can I afford this? We ask, does this feel like good value? And often, with ebooks, the answer is not quite. So where do I land on this? Well, obviously, I don't think ebooks should be almost free. That's way too simplistic and a bit silly. But I do think readers are right to question why the saving is sometimes so small. The uncomfortable truth is that books are never mainly priced by paper in the first place. They're priced by value, timing, demand, market power, and what readers like you and me are prepared to pay. And the ebook exposes that. It strips away the object and leaves us staring directly at the price. It feels like a test of how much convenience we're willing to pay for. So, my questions for you are these. What feels the right price for an ebook? Should it be always cheaper than the paperback? Should it be half price? Or are we thinking about this the wrong way entirely? Let me know in the comments, because I'd genuinely be interested to know where people draw the line. Anywho, if you enjoyed this video, please do like the vid and subscribe to the channel. The Weekly Spark is still a small channel, and every like, comment and subscription really does tell YouTube that this is worth showing to more people. And I'll be honest, it'd be really nice to hit 1,000 subscribers before Christmas 2026. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you'd like to support the channel even further, consider becoming a member. The join button is down below. Otherwise, you can show your appreciation by buying me a digital coffee, scan the QR code on screen, or use the link in the description. Thanks for watching or listening. I'm Mark from the Weekly Spark, and I'll see you in the next one.